lives in Stowe with her partner and kids, and loves teaching writing at Kent State, playing with her 4 dogs, and playing video games.
Otherwise, it's just blur. Okay, my story covers suicidal ideation. My story covers suicidal ideation and mentions of abuse. Please don't hesitate to bow out if those are triggers for you. I have enough triggers as it is, and I get it. Okay, everybody, buckle up for a seriously convoluted short version of my life. I am polyamorous, I am pagan, I am an empath, I am a trauma and psychological abuse survivor. But I am also stubborn, and I've gotten pretty good at getting back up after I fall, or get pushed. I started life being caught between my mother and my grandmother, who fought constantly and put me in the middle of their war, a child trying to mediate a ceasefire. In spite of crap memory from disassociating, I've managed to trace my suicidal ideation to probably back around 7 or 8, when I was hiding in the attic from my grandmother. She called the cops to look for me, dragged out all the neighbors. I was just there in the dark, crammed in the smallest space I could find, wanting to die. Not dying probably wasn't my best move, because when I did come out, the shitstorm was pretty epic. I didn't know how to do anything like killing myself back then, aside from taking a whole bunch of random aspirin, which I chickened out on. Eventually, I escaped my grandmother when I was 22 by marrying a guy who swore to love me forever. Not my best move either, since he turned out to be a psychological abuser. I was his Lochnar, if anyone's ever seen the movie Heavy Metal. If you haven't, the pedestal was so high that there was no chance of not falling off. And I fell off pretty epically. 8 years later, in 2000, by finding the love of my life, DM. I was caught between 2 people, again. Hello, suicidal ideation, my old friend. This time, I let the dogs out in the backyard, went into the garage, left the garage door shut, turned on the car. My then husband caught me by coming home from work early. The last thing he wanted was me getting help, and echoes of my grandmother asking me if I wanted people to think I was crazy kept me from getting any actual psychological help. Years later, I realized my ex-husband actually brainwashed me to keep me with him, waking me up and screaming at me, sleep deprivation, profuse apologies and kindness, rinse and repeat. I don't know if he even understood he was doing it. We all have our survival mechanisms. I became a different person entirely. I don't mean that as a euphemism. I talk about her now in the third person because I don't like her very much, dutiful wife that she was, and she was very much a separate personality. The real me was relegated to a tiny part of my brain, screaming. 20 years I was screaming and she ignored me. 8 years after the initial hot mess, when my ex-husband found out about DM, his partner Euphrates found me online. He had moved to Cincinnati to be with her. And here and there, I got to see them when they came up north. Once a year, once every 2 years, in parking lots or in my office. But the terror of being caught that I felt every time I saw them only got worse over time. More and more I was losing myself to fear. Nonetheless, over the years, clandestine meetings, meeting in parking lots, I fell in love with her too. She was kind and gentle and understood my pain. Slowly, over years, the real me began to reassert herself, pushing out the other one. In 2018, my ex-husband left me, finally. 1 year later, when I was sure it was safe, I told Euphrates and DM that he was gone. DM's first comment to me, "Don't do anything monogamous until I get there." I met them at a gaming con in Aurora called Cleveland Concoction. I was worried that I was too damaged to let my walls down, even for him. But the minute I was in his arms, the screaming in my head just stopped. silence for the first time in what seemed like forever. Within the year, I told Euphrates how I felt, and she felt the same way. We became a long-distance triad with me up here and the two of them in Cincinnati. I drove down there, they came up here, we went to Naked Pagan Camp that summer. Long story, not for now. 20 years after it all started, we were finally together. The bad times were over. I thought I could be who I am for the first time. I thought that we three would be happy forever. Not so much. DM and Euphrates' relationship fell apart for reasons that are not mine to tell, and more Euphrates became angrier and angrier. She kicked him out and sent him to live up here with me 2 years ago because she couldn't deal with his crap anymore. DM and I started to build a life together, and he started to heal from his own traumas. From a triad to a V with me as the hinge. Not my dream, but better than nothing. He started to heal. She got more bitter, saying terrible things about him that hurt to hear, being so very angry all the time. I don't think she really knew what she was doing. Again, we all have our survival mechanisms. I couldn't find my kind and gentle love in her anymore, and I missed her. Once again, I was caught between two people I loved, trying to make everyone happy, and failing. That wasn't supposed to happen, not anymore. The suicidal ideation came back with a vengeance, the worst it's ever been. How could it not after all the waiting? Finally being at the highest high and dropping to the lowest low. It's not a survival mechanism, suicidal ideation. Somehow my brain seems to think that if I physically die, it will save me from any more psychological damage. I guess that would kind of work, but not really. Last month, Euphrates finally had a pretty seismic epiphany about why even our relationship was falling apart. She realized what she had been doing after I told her that being in the middle was literally killing me. She worked on her shit. DM's still working on his shit. I'm working on my shit. Obviously, I've got a lot of shit to work on. Things are looking up. The end remains to be seen, but I'm hopeful. DM and I are getting handfasted on Monday, the day after tomorrow. Hopefully, Euphrates and I will be able to do the same thing someday. If I've learned anything from the shit show of my life, it's that if I keep getting back up and fighting, life will get better eventually, even if you have to hide in an attic or become another person to keep the core of yourself safe, or fight suicidal ideation 1,000,000 times. I know I'll be fighting to the finish line. I am not done yet. Thank you.